Okay, so let me start from something that you said. So the question is, what are the structural limitations of the EU to deal with this kind of territorial conflicts? Before I get to that, I want to admit, of course, that and accept that, of course, the EU has very good reasons to engage with those conflicts, right? I mean, there are positive reasons for the EU to do that. The first one is the very existence of the EU, right, as a peace plan. I mean, if we accept that the raison d'être of the EU is to be a peace plan, and one of the things that we say in the treaties in Article 3 is precisely that the EU tries to promote peace between its inhabitants, engaging with this kind of territorial conflicts is a non-brainer, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is that the EU is a multi-level constitutional order, right? So it's one of those constitutional orders where constitutional politics take place in many levels, in the local level or regional level, in the national level, state level, and then in the supranational level. So anything that happens in any of those orders is of importance to the EU, and clearly, the resolution of a territorial conflict or resolution of any kind of constitutional question is important for this constitutional order. And the third reason is that the EU has a declared interest and a declared goal of conflict resolution, right? So if we look at all the reports of the external relations or of the Commission, one of the big things that they are saying is that we want to be active in conflict resolution. However, there are clear limitations, structural limitations within the EU. The first one is that in legal parlance we are talking about a constitutional order of states, right? The states are the masters of the treaties, and a majority of the EU states, either they don't have this kind of constitutional conflicts, or they are unitary, or they don't have an understanding of this kind of constitutional conflicts. And that creates some certain limitations about what are the possibilities and what the member states can accept that the treaties would do. Imagine any treaty revision, right? At 3 o'clock in the morning, in Nice or in Lisbon, somebody says, okay, let's put an article to deal with constitutional conflicts. Everybody would say no. So that's the first and obvious point. The second thing is precisely because of that, if we look from a very pedantic point of view, it's very difficult to find a legal basis for the EU to deal with this kind of conflicts, especially with the internal ones. And I think, Jaume, I'm sure, will speak about the proposal that they made about regulation and how it would solve that. And the third problem is this idea of that within the EU there is this idea of loyal cooperation, that member states have to have a duty, a duty to each other to cooperate, right? So anything that somehow would question the territorial integrity of one of the states could be potentially a breach of this duty of loyal cooperation, or at least the relevant member state will use it as such. So clearly the way that this constitutional order is created has certain structural limitations, or at least has given to the member states some levers whenever they are dealing with this kind of territorial conflict, to be able to react to it. Are there solutions? Obviously. I mean, the EU is not only a formal player, it's also an informal player. But however, every solution should be consensual, right? So both parties to a constitutional conflict should agree to use the EU as kind of a mediator, at this moment at least.